Hey, we've got a new Ranger here. It's got the factory halogen headlights. We're going to be installing the Morimoto headlights, so stay tuned. Later in the video we'll show you how that looks. But that's what's going to separate this vehicle from the rest of the ones on the road. The Morimoto headlights are a huge upgrade, and just check to see how this comes out. Turn them on for you in one moment. All right, so the lights are on. That's the low beam. You can see halogen reflector, and you got a halogen high beam as well, and that's a running light as well as a turn signal. You can see for a brand new vehicle, it really doesn't really do it justice. So I think the Morimoto headlights are going to completely change the looks and give you some added performance. What's interesting is there's no amber side marker inside the headlight. It's actually on the fender itself, so it's going to give a nice clean look with the Morimotos. All right, so factory low beams, customer did say they're a little bit high because he had the vehicle lifted a little bit or leveled. So you can see I'm putting on the high beam mode. That's the factory low beams. Fairly sharp for halogen reflectors. So optically they're pretty good. We're gonna take a quick reading with the lux meter to see what their before measurement is. Let's see here. And you can see they have a very defined hot spot. And we're hitting about 460 lux. So stay tuned to see what they come to with the Morimotos in terms of the final look, fitment, function, and of course the performance. So we're about midway through the install. A lot of work to remove some of these parts and get the lights out, because you have to remove this whole sort of shroud that holds on the cover. I believe those can actually come off together, but took the approach of just finding out if it could make it work. But it blocks the lower entry. And check out these beautiful lights. So that's the parking light. That's going to get twice as bright for the daytime running light mode. You got the triple projectors. Those are triple bi LED, so low and high beam function. And again, you got the factory halogen headlights with that turn signal. That's also a parking light. But you'll see how this comes together in just a moment. All right, so the Morimoto lights have finally been installed. Pretty lengthy install to remove these, install everything, wire it up. Check out how great they look. So that's the Ford Performance Tremor Grille. Customer added that on while we had everything apart. Goes really, really well with the new Morimoto lights as well, and the whole front end. It's a whole changeover for sure. Beautiful setup. So just like the stock one, there's no amber inside the assembly like you see on other Morimoto lights because it's on the fender over here. But you got a whole much more aggressive look to the front end with those triple projectors and dark housings. All right, so the way that the Morimoto lights are set up, they have a line that runs to the fuse box up front in the engine bay. Uses an out-of-circuit fuse tap, and that's what gives you the new daytime running light. It's not controlled by the car anymore. Just anytime the ignition's keyed on, it's gonna give you that full-on brightness daytime running lights. And you can see those are ridiculously bright. So just like all the other Morimoto lights, you can see this very, very clearly during the sunny day. No problems at all. So true OEM grade DRL brightness. As soon as the parking lights are on, which I'll show you in a second, those actually dim to 50% brightness. So at night, it's not too bright. So now we've got the parking lights enabled, and we're gonna key on the ignition. And the Morimoto lights have something built in called a Bugatti startup sequence. Just kind of, sequences through the low beams, turns on and off. You won't see this if you're in the car unless you're against the wall, but it's a really cool feature that the Morimoto lights have built into the headlights. So we've got all 3 projectors on when the low beam comes on. And you can see the final look of that. It looks absolutely awesome. Again, that's parking light brightness, and that's why they're not, super bright right now. So at night, it'll be a reduced brightness for the LEDs. And we're gonna turn on the turn signal for you. So these can operate in sequential turn signal or just standard. This is the standard. It's a personal preference type of setup. There's no right or wrong way. But that gives you a really nice turn signal, and then it goes right back to white as soon as you're done signaling. All right, so here's the low beam output. Again, triple bi-LED projectors by Morimoto. Really, really nicely defined cutoff line. You can see the beam is really consistent. And it's actually really, really colorful, which we don't usually see on the Morimoto lights. So that looks really good. I've got my lux meter here. So it's actually really, really well optimized. So we're hitting a maximum of about 670 lux or so. But the cutoff pattern is way more consistent. You get a lot more width out of this setup. If you guys have any questions, email us. It's info@lightwerkz.net. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks again and subscribe.